Hi guys, it's Dan Freedman here, author of the Jamie Johnson series. And I'm going to read a first chapter of one of my books for you today, and I've chosen Skills from Brazil. It's one of my favourite Jamie Johnson books, and I really hope you like it. The first chapter is called What Makes You So Special? Jamie Johnson! Mr. Pratley shouted, his hot, smelly coffee breath roaring like a dirty hurricane into Jamie's face. He'd grabbed Jamie's scribble formation of a Hawkston United team with all of his favourite players and of course Jay Johnson as number 11 on the left wing. This was far from the first time that Jamie had been caught playing fancy football instead of listening. When it came to football, Jamie's brain was like a powerful computer, working out teams and angles and shots and passes, but when it came to listening to Pratley, Jamie just seemed to switch off. As soon as the man started talking, it drove Pratley wild with rage. Have you any idea how many kids have been through this school and claimed that they were going to be a footballer when they grew up? Hundreds, thousands. Mr. Pratley was now tearing up Jamie's sheet into as many little pieces as possible. The more he ripped up the page into smaller and smaller sections, the redder his face became and the wider his eyes bulged. Jamie didn't respond. He couldn't. It was taking every ounce of his power not to burst into laughter. All he could do was stare at the big green bogey that was hovering, tantalisingly loose from the end of Mr. Pratley's nostril. It was a beauty, wet and sticky, yet still hard enough to be absolutely ripe for the picking. And of those thousands of kids, Pratley continued, the redness now rising from his face into his big, shiny, balding head, who all thought they were going to be a professional footballer, who all thought that they were God's gift to the game, have you any idea how many of them did it? How many of them became footballers? Jamie shook his head. He'd noticed that the more Pratley was getting worked up and the louder he shouted, the more the bogey had begun to wobble. It was as though it was dancing to the beat of Pratley's anger. Pratley walked to the front of the classroom and chucked the remnants of Jamie's sheet into the bin. Then he turned and marched back towards Jamie. The closer he got, the better the view Jamie had of the bogey. It was now doing something amazing. When Pratley breathed out, the bogey poked further out of his nose as if it were waving to the world. And when he breathed in, it returned slightly further up his nostril. It appeared to be on some kind of invisible string. None! Barked Pratley. None of those kids became professional footballers. So I'd like you to tell me why you think you are any different. Jamie looked at his best friend Jacqueline, or Jack as everyone called her. She shook her head. Don't talk back, she was saying to him with her eyes. And she was right. For some reason, Jamie had the ability to wind up Pratley more than any other kid in the whole school. And now they had reached danger zone. One more word from Jamie and Pratley might just explode. Of course, there were plenty of things that Jamie could have said. Lots of arguments he could have put forward to explain why he believed that one day he would be a professional footballer. That he was by far the best player in the school. That he got all his talent from his granddad, who, had it not been for the injury, would easily have been one of Hawkston United's greatest ever players. That he trained and practiced every single day because he wanted to become not just a professional footballer, but one of the best players in the whole world. But he didn't say anything. Jack was right. They both knew that whenever Jamie answered back, it only made Pratley even angrier. The best course of action Jamie could take now would be to say nothing, nothing at all. And so Jamie just shrugged his shoulders and stayed quiet. Answer me, Johnson, yelled Pratley, or I'll keep you in here for the whole of lunchtime by yourself. What makes you think you're so special? And what makes you think you've got something that all the other kids didn't have? Pratley's face was now just an inch from Jamie's, and the bogey was smack bang in front of Jamie's eyes. It was moving in and out of the teacher's nose, perfectly in time with Pratley's shouts. Out of the corner of his eye, Jamie saw Jack turn away. Her body was chugging. She'd seen it too, and she'd started laughing now herself. Jamie could feel it coming inside him also. It was rising up through his body like an unstoppable river from his lungs into his throat, and now it was at his mouth. The laughter couldn't be controlled for very much longer. For one last time, Johnson, why do you think you're better than any of them? I don't know, Jamie finally stuttered. The laughter was already leaking out. He knew he was going to get into trouble anyway, so he thought he might as well make it worth it. Snot really for me to say? And that's the first chapter of Skills from Brazil. I hope you like it.